when people who've suffered and struggled with it tell me that I'm getting across their experience, that I couldn't ask for anything more. I think of it as almost miraculous.
This is The Fit Mess with Zach and Jeremy.
This is The Fit Mess. I'm Jeremy, and that guy all the way over there, his name is Zach.
What's up, everyone?
Thanks so much for listening to the show. Our guest this week is Gary Gulman. He's a comedian who has a new special on HBO called The Great Depresh, which, as you can tell, is related to depression and his battle with it. We'll be talking to him in just a little bit and talking about our own struggle. I know I've been going through a bit recently. Zach, how have you been the last few days? We haven't talked in a couple weeks.
Generally speaking, I'm okay. But, yeah, it's been a pretty crazy couple of weeks, so definitely been battling my own demons. How have you been?
Like I said, it's been one of those rounds where several days the clouds roll in and darkness sets in, and both figuratively and literally. I live in Seattle, where it's still getting dark at now 5:00 in the afternoon. Very generous of you, winter. Thank you. But it's just been raining. Like, we have record rainfall here. So I mean, this is everything that you imagine about the Pacific Northwest and about Seattle in terms of weather has been the last 4 weeks. It's just been miserable. And I try so hard, especially when I'm riding my bike to work or something, to just say to myself, I'm so grateful for this. I'm grateful to be able to feel the rain and the cold wind on my hands as they get numb, and the ability to be outside and just experience this life. But oh God, it's just so cold and so wet and so dark. It's this constant mental arm wrestling match that I have, where I'm trying to embrace the gratitude of just having the experience, whether it's good or bad. But that's I'm not always successful at that.
To contrast that a little bit, I spent the last 10 years in Seattle, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And my wife and I are now in New York, as you know, other people may not. We're in New York, and it was wonderful the other day. We, came downstairs, the sun was shining in the windows. It was awesome. But then we opened the door and it was 8 degrees out. So, we got the sun, but we don't want to be outside. Well,
and I forget, you guys don't have the 4 and 5 o'clock sunset up there, right?
Yeah, we do.
Is it bad there too?
Yep,
I didn't think it was as bad. I don't know why. I always just imagine that's a uniquely Northwest thing.
No, it's right. I think you get a little bit more daylight here, and I mean 15 minutes.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, when it's getting dark there at 4, it's getting dark here at 4:20.
Okay. Man, so. It's just awful. We there ought to be a law.
I think there is.
They got to get on, fixing that law, because that law is broke ass. I hate the early sunset all winter long, and I know we're getting relatively close to fixing it, but it's taking too long. Taking too long.
What I don't like is waking, because I get up early and go to work,
mm-hmm.
and what I don't like is getting to work and it's dark.
Yeah.
And then leaving work and it's dark.
Right, you waste all that daylight in an office.
I missed the whole day.
I had that the other day. I was home. It was a weekend, and my wife was off doing some volunteer work, and I was watching the kids and their friends, and I wanted to get the kids out of the house. Like, guys, let's go to the club. There's a cool thing happening. We can go check. We can all walk over there. No, we just want to knit and play dress up. Okay, fine. So I'm, working on my computer stuff that I had to work on anyways. I'm like, this is not a fight I want to fight. I will, submit, and I'll work on my thing. And as all of that was wrapping up, I was realizing, okay, it's 2 p.m. If I'm going to and it was actually a sunny few hours. It was if I'm not going to waste this, I need to get out right now, because any minute this could shift. So fortunately, my wife came home, and I got my bike out and just hauled ass for an hour to just get out and feel the sunshine for a few minutes. It was still 30 degrees. It was cold as shit, but yeah, it's so weird, that feeling when it is sunny and you want to get out, you start having these mental gymnastics where it's I want to get out there because I don't want to waste this, but I also don't want to do anything. And then you start feeling guilty about wasting the opportunity to be out in the sun, especially when it's been raining for 5 weeks. It's so funny how we do this thing to or maybe it's just me or people like me that deal with this, but that constant struggle of you're not doing the right thing because you don't want to go out and enjoy it, but then you're wasting it. So don't be a dick and just go outside and do it.
To bring a little humor to this, we were watching one of our Sunday night ritual now is watching America's Funniest Home Videos. And there was a video of a parent saying, I told the kids to go outside and play. And the camera swings around and you see the kids out in the front yard with Xbox controllers looking in through the window playing their video game, but they're outside. And my wife and I just started laughing, and my daughter Natalie was like, "What? What's wrong with that?" Like, that's perfectly legitimate. They went outside.
That's great. I gotta remember that next time I just want to play video games. Just play from outside the window.
Yeah, that's all you gotta do.
Oh my God.
So what you're saying is depression sucks, right?
It does. And, I mentioned our guest who we'll be talking to in just a minute, Gary Gulman, the special that he has on HBO. I honestly wasn't sure what to expect going in because, how much stand-up material can you get out of being, horribly, like hospitalized, depressed? Like that sounds like some pretty dark stuff. And so I didn't know what to expect. But the stories that he tells and the perspective that he offers on what it's like to live with depression, not only does he make you laugh about it the whole time, but he does just a brilliant job of painting the picture of what it's like. And so as much as I got out of it, as much as I related to him and so many of the stories that he told, I couldn't help but think about the people that don't struggle with this and how much they can get out of his way of making it relatable. Like it's very similar to me for like a John Oliver or The Daily Show, taking taking bad news and making it palatable, making it something that you actually want to consume, that you look forward to, and truly getting educated about what's going on, but laughing the whole time. It rang true in that way for me. And it sort of walks this line between being a stand-up special and like a TED Talk. Like I just really felt like he really just cracked open a big light on what this experience is. So it's just powerful, and I honestly can't recommend it enough, whether he was on the show or not. But again, it's called The Great Depresh. It's on HBO. So if you have HBO Now, or you can steal your friend's password or whatever, absolutely check it out. It's really good.
Although we're not encouraging anyone to steal anyone's passwords.
Not, of course not. I mean that in a very real and legally binding sense.
Exactly.
So I was very lucky. I got to talk to Gary Gulman earlier today and talked a lot about the special, a lot about the work that he's put in trying to get himself better and how he can be so confident moving forward that maybe the worst is behind him. But we just started simply with sort of how he's doing now after what he's been through these last few years. You spoke to me in a voice that I've been hearing in my own head for so long. There's so many similarities that I heard from my own growing up, being the bigger guy, the sensitive guy, the guy that was supposed to play sports and all those things. And it's just, It's so amazing how our society has been so difficult for people like you and me to grow up. How are you doing with that now after all the work you've done?
Well, I think it's not a coincidence that my sturdiest and longest lasting recovery or remission from depression came along at the same time that I sort of accepted these aspects of myself and my personality and my being that I had either been ashamed of or saw as flaws or as something to keep to myself. I think accepting myself was if not the key component, a key component of my recovery. So I think part of me laments the fact that it took me until I'm nearly 50 years old to figure this out. But the other part of me is just grateful that it happened, because I think a lot of people come and go without really embracing themselves and finding these things that they think are so shameful and so embarrassing that they're actually what makes them special. And the other side of that is that the first time I become truly vulnerable on stage is the time I really make a connection with an audience that is really significant and extraordinary.
Yeah, let's talk about that. The decision to put this part of your life into your act. Was there any part of you that was afraid that, how can depression be funny?
Well, I think that along the way I sort of built it slowly, and so I opened up about certain things. The first thing I probably opened up with was just the symptoms of my depression first, and I didn't really call it depression. I just said this is how I'm living, and it was the whole joke about eating ice cream with a fork and not having the energy to do a lot of things. And then later on, I felt comfortable in kind of labeling it and saying that's how my depression manifests, and I was rewarded with laughter and people telling me that they connected and that it resonated with them. And so at every stop along the way in developing this, I received that type of feedback and that type of encouragement. So the next step was probably to talk about taking medication, and people identified with that. And I had listed a litany of medicines that I'd been on over the years, and people told me that they were counting along with me and saying, yes, I took that, and checking off different things that I had taken. And then the next step was probably the biggest one that I had put off the longest, or had pretty much decided I would not talk about it, was just being hospitalized and going through ECT treatment and some of the deeper, heavier things. But when I did open up about it on stage, and I was careful to do it in front of generous and thoughtful audiences, the feedback was so positive and almost without exception that it really wasn't that hard after that. And so maybe the first time I did it was difficult, but after that it was pretty easy to dig deeper, because every time I did, I was rewarded with this positive feedback that kept me going and motivated me and inspired me.
It's funny. I've battled depression my entire life, and I know now because of the work I've been doing.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, thank you. I know now because of the work I've been doing these last several years to combat it, that it has been the obstacle that I've avoided going through to take big risks and to progress in healthy ways. There's a lot of opportunities that I think I probably could have had, but I went, well, I just never know when the darkness is going to come, and I can't put myself out there and take that risk. So I'm trying to put myself in your head when you were first starting out in comedy. How did you get past that? How were you able to put yourself out there knowing at any point this thing will take me out?
Yeah, I guess I did it in 6 to 9 month increments. I would feel pretty good, write a lot, get on stage a lot, and then I would have setbacks, and I would fall apart for a while, and then I would continually finding a way to get out of it, but it would last sometimes a month, sometimes 6 months, and it usually would last. It was limited to 6 month spells of depression, and then I would make a triumphant comeback. But this particular episode lasted for 2.5 years, and so that was really scary, because I didn't know. I thought, well, it's never lasted this long. I don't know if I'm going to come out of it. But I guess at the beginning, my depression was such that I could make some progress it got to me. But I know that when you said that the opportunities were missed and risks weren't taken, it was definitely always in my head. So that right now I'm working on 2 or 3 projects, including a book that I've been writing since the beginning of the year. And early on in my career, I had decided, well, I'm only going to concentrate on stand-up because that's really all the energy I have available to me is to work on stand-up. To work on other things and other projects and to really even consider being in a serious relationship, I didn't have the energy or the strength to go through those things and really embrace those things. I had to really compartmentalize my life and focus on things and just limited myself and avoided more than one challenge at a time. So I think it held me back and made it take longer to get where I am now, or where I felt I could be. I felt up until this past couple of years that I had not reached my potential, that I had more to offer than I was actually able to produce.
You are the voice in my head. I mean, that is exactly where I'm at. I feel like there's this constant, like, I have so much more to give, but how do I get past?
Yeah.
It's such a powerful and ugly enemy to battle.
Yeah, it really is. But the good thing is that so many people go through it, and so many people understand now that just sharing it is actually a very valuable activity, and it gives other people strength. And I think if I read this great quote by Mark Twain: "If you want to cheer yourself up, cheer somebody else up." And I really believe in that, and it's gotten me out of some difficult days. Just instead of wallowing, I've reached out to people and tried to help out. So I think you're going to get there.
Well, thank you, and clearly I think you are as well. I do want to talk about where you are now, and bouncing back to the special, if I can. The first thing that struck me was when you walked out on stage to roaring applause. Are you able to accept that? Like, are you able to accept people's love, or does some part of you question, how authentic are they being? Is this just a formality? Are they clapping because that's what you do when you start a show? Or can you take that in and really feel the appreciation from others like that?
No, I definitely, but I actually am deliberate about it, and I actually think about it. Whereas before, I don't even know if I would notice the response unless it was unusual in some way. If, for instance, I've done shows where the people are so enthusiastic that they give you a standing ovation before the show even starts, and so I can notice that. That's almost startling, but I've had to actually say to myself as I'm taking the stage these days, take this in, enjoy this. They're really excited to see you, and I guess I noticed during the Great Depresh tour that the usually a standing ovation at the end of the show, that these people were saying, "Hey, we were thirsty for what you were serving today, and we really appreciate it, and we want you to know how special this was," and that felt really good. I think the thing that kept me on track and sane during the part of this process where I didn't know whether it would even get on a video platform of some kind, either HBO or Netflix or something. When I didn't know it was ever going to be seen by anybody other than the live audience, I decided that it was a success if it was performed in front of a live audience. So I couldn't lose. The metric for success was so reasonable that I was winning every night. So the other stuff, had it not made it on HBO, I would have been very disappointed, but I also could have taken some some solace in the amount of people I reached just from doing the show live for so long. And maybe I would have done it longer if I hadn't been able to reach as many people as I could in one night from HBO.
Oh, that's great. You mentioned in the special and in interviews I've seen since then that you feel like you're on the other side of the Great Depresh. How confident are you that is the case? Because I know for me, every pill I've taken is the magic pill until it's not. Every retreat I go on it works until it doesn't. Everything I've done wears off. How confident are you that this is better?
Well, I'm more confident than I've been, but there are days when I say, "Oh man, I don't feel good, and I need to go through my checklist of things that I did along the way to feel better." And without exception, so far, I've found that you haven't exercised, you haven't talked to anybody today, you haven't done a show, you haven't addressed some of your gratitude or things you're grateful for, you haven't acknowledged them, you haven't eaten a decent meal, there are usually a number of things that I haven't done that are contributing to my mood. So I will say that I'm more vigilant than ever, which makes me feel like this is a more sturdy recovery. But I really can't say that I'm 100%. I think it would be probably foolish to say I'm fully confident that it won't return. I can only say that I feel good today, and I think that I will feel good in the morning tomorrow, and that's about as far as I want to plan. I accept things in the future, gigs and projects, thinking that I'll feel good, whereas before I used to say, no, I don't think I'll be able to do that. So I remember the book deal I have now, I actually wrote a proposal for it 4 years ago, and then when it came time to try and pitch it or share it with anybody, I said I don't have the energy to maintain my comedy career and write a book at the same time. I'll get discouraged, and it'll tear down the entire structure of my comedy and my writing. So I had to put it off, and now I feel capable of coming through for the publishing company.
Well, you don't need me to tell you. You are hilarious. You're fantastic at what you do, and
thank you.
I could not be more grateful for you giving a voice to what so many people like us struggle with. It's tremendously helpful, and it helps. I think for a lot of people, it helps communicate what we go through to people who don't, so that they can try and understand and be a better ally to those of us that are in the fight. So
yeah, that has been the best compliment, because I have found it so frustrating over the years that I haven't been able to get across how it feels and what I'm going through, and when people who've suffered and struggled with it tell me that I'm getting across their experience, that I couldn't ask for anything more. I think of it as almost miraculous that this thing that I plotted through for so many years is actually going to benefit some people, and I'm very grateful, because I think that with the help of my director Mike Bonfiglio and Judd Apatow, we were able to get across in an hour and 15 minutes what a lot of people are feeling, and I think that the real bravery is getting up every morning with depression, with anxiety, and fighting through the day. Talking about it and sharing my experience from the other side has been really easy and pleasant and rewarding. So I just want to tell those people who are out there who don't think they can get through another day that you can and you have to, because it's so rewarding on the other side, and it feels so good on the other side, and I really appreciate the good in my life so much more than I did before I went through that 2.5-year desert of misery. So I'm so glad I said it in the special. I'm so glad I stuck around for this.
All right, again, our very sincere thanks to Gary Gulman. You know, I'm bummed that I didn't get to check out his show. He was just here in Seattle a few days ago, and I was looking at the calendar, and I, really wanted to go, but we had tickets to the live performance of Frozen, like the Broadway version of Frozen. And had I canceled taking my kids to Frozen because Dad wanted to go to a comedy show, Dad wouldn't be walking around very well. My kids would have busted my kneecaps.
Yeah, you'd be on a whole different level of depression.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, our thanks to him. The special is The Great Depresh. Very, very funny. It's on HBO. You should check it out. And, you know, we've sort of been joking a little bit, and that conversation was rather serious for being with a comedian. We just want to emphasize that clearly depression is no laughing matter. Fortunately, every now and then we can find ways to laugh through it. But if it is something that you're struggling with, I can't urge you strongly enough to get help, talk to somebody, do whatever you need to do to get yourself through those dark moments, because it is a lonely, lonely place. And, you know, I deal with it, and I know what it's like. So reach out to us through the show. Reach out to, a therapist, to your family, whoever you need to, if it is something that you're struggling with, because I don't know that there's a way out of it alone.
Even if you have mild depression, I mean, even mild depression, talking to somebody can help. It's a very lonely issue, and it can only get better if you can talk to somebody about it.
Absolutely. The other thing you can do, if you're anything like us, just go to Disney World.
Yes, the happiest place on earth.
We're going to be, Zach and I and another family that we're friends with. All of our families are going together to Disney World in just a few days. So we'll be recording some shows together down there. We'll probably have to we got to do like some Instagram live of like some rides or something, just, because this opportunity doesn't present itself often. So look for that stuff on our social media feeds.
And as long as we're on the depression kick, we'll do some Instagram lives of the wait times.
Oh my God. Yeah.
They're going to be ridiculous.
And certainly at least one video of me letting out some high-pitched girly scream on a ride where I'm terrified.
My primary goal in this entire trip is to get as many videos of you screaming like a little girl as I can.
Here's the thing, though. I don't scream. Like, I just, like, I get silent, and I just hold on to, like, this rage fear thing until it's all over. And then I check my pulse, and it's through the roof.
We don't need volume. We just need a picture.
It's true. That I can promise. There will be more photos of me just terrified on rides.
With the picture, you can hear the scream. It's wonderful.
All right. So moving on from that. So again, look for that on our social media feeds. But since the last show, we did have a challenge. I believe you challenged me, or we challenged each other, however you want to break it down, to meditate regularly. It was a daily thing for 5 minutes for, I can't remember how long. Was it a week?
It was two. I think it was 2 weeks.
I think it was 2 weeks. Well, I didn't reach that goal. That didn't happen.
Oh, that's so depressing.
Come on, just get over it.
Yes, that's the easy way out.
Right?
Get over it.
Come on, buck up, little camper. What do you have to be depressed about?
Exactly.
But I did. So I did, while I may not have done a dedicated meditation, for at least 3 days, I did yoga, which I think is very similar to meditation.
That's my meditation.
One night I went and went to a breathwork workshop where, man, you want to talk about letting go of old dark stuff and baggage and junk. Holy smokes, breathwork is the way to do it. This is only the second time I've done this kind of thing, but I talked to friends of mine who have died. I saw all of life as a tapestry of these different colors with different meanings. I was back in the delivery room with my kids being born. Like, I went on a trip, dude, and man, you at least in my case, cried so much pain out that I'd just been hanging on to that I didn't even know was there. And you just come out of it feeling so good. So if you have access to holotropic breathwork, you got to try it, especially if you do deal with any of the stuff we've been talking about in the show, because it is unlike anything I've ever done, and more effective than any pill I've ever taken. And, as far as I know, it's perfectly harmless. I ain't no doctor, so don't take my word for it in that regard. But it opens you up in ways that I often just most of the time had no idea is even possible, and it's very healing. So I'm definitely going to be looking into doing more of that. But so anyways, back to the topic. So I'm counting those 4 days as being meditation adjacent.
I will take that. Nice. I'll accept that.
Nice.
The judges accept it.
I was only 10 days short on the challenge.
Well, I mean, if you count work days, you were like 40%.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's good.
I'll take
right?
it. Yeah.
You've got to rationalize it appropriately.
How about you? Did you get any meditation in? Did you get on the cushion? Did you sit and just be quiet and do nothing?
I did a couple of times.
Yeah.
And I did a bunch of yoga too. So yoga is my meditation. I can't meditate unless I'm moving. So it's sitting still and feeling my breath. Feeling my heartbeat makes me want to crawl out of my skin.
Come on, man. You can do it.
Oh, I can. It's really uncomfortable. And I make a similar face to what you make on amusement park rides. Just, like terrified, screaming. It's very similar.
It's dark in there, man.
It is dark. Well, the weird part is I complained to my doctor. I was like, when I sit still, I can hear my heartbeat. And she's like, that's not a bad thing. Why are you complaining about that again?
Right. What's the alternative? Not hearing a heartbeat?
Exactly. So, but it drives me insane. Drives me crazy.
That's funny. Well, good. But you put in some time, did some yoga. I think that counts too. The yoga that I did, it's still very much the same. You're focused on the moment, and that I think is kind of the point of it, anyways.
Well, the whole point of yoga too is, 50% of yoga, if you just laid down on the mat and inhaled and exhaled when the instructor told you to, you're getting 50% of the benefit of yoga right there.
Yeah.
And one of my teachers in the middle of a class, and it just happened. She wasn't even looking at me, like she just knew. But she said, if you can't breathe through the pose, you're doing it wrong. Mm-hmm. And I was currently in a pose that I was trying to muscle my way through was holding my breath. And was like, I got this.
I'm good. No, I got it. Yeah, I'm doing great. Oh.
So, but when you think about meditation, right, you say focus on the breath.
Yep.
All of yoga is focusing on the breath.
Yep.
You just happen to be moving at the same time. So to me, it is totally meditation. Totally counts. And you get limber.
Well, and quick aside, I went to a yoga class a few days ago, and it's one of these, I forget what it's called, like a restorative yoga class. So it's a lot of like really deep but really long poses. And there was one where it's like, bend your foot all the way up by your hip and lay back. And I was like, I knew that like 90% of it was the mental block of like, I don't think I can do this. And like I'm twisting and pulling and trying to get my leg up there. And like I gave up and I did the modification. And I was like, no, I'm going to do this. I'm not giving up. And so I got back at it. And finally the teacher came over and she's like, why don't you put this thing under here and this pillow there? And like, I totally had to like build this pillow contraption to be able to make my body do it. And I was like, oh God, I'm so lame. But at the same time, I was proud of myself because, old me would have given up and done the easy one. Like just do the modification and just hang there. But there was this voice that was like, no, don't give up. This is a mental game. You can beat this. And with some help, I did. So.
Yes, I can only imagine, like as a yoga teacher, I can only imagine the teacher going, "Oh, that poor gentleman.
Look at that
I
idiot.
need to go help him.
Look at that idiot. He needs help. What a fool."
That's great empathy there.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I think we've done our duty. I think that's all we've got for this episode until we're together in Florida.
That was a depressing episode.
I don't think so. Come on. Get over it.
We got to get at least one joke in.
Exactly. Our thanks to our guest, Gary Gulman. Our thanks to you for listening to the show. And our thanks to you for going to our website, thefitmess.com, and subscribing so that you do not miss any future episodes. And more importantly, if you can, if you so desire, please share any episode that you hear through whatever social media channels that you prefer to use. And you can follow us on all of those as well. All the links are at our website. Thank you so much for listening and for your support of the show. We will be back, I guess, in a couple weeks, but we will be very active on the social media stuff once we're in Florida. So look for us there. Thanks for listening. We'll see you soon at thefitmess.com.
See you, everyone.
We know this podcast is amazing and does not seem to lack anything, but we do need a legal disclaimer. Jeremy and Zach are not doctors. They do not play them on the internet, and even if they did play them on the internet, they would be really bad at it. Please consult your physician prior to implementing any changes that you heard on this podcast. The listener assumes that Jeremy and Zach do not know what they are talking about and that you will do your own research on the topics talked about on this podcast.